I knew something was wrong the moment I saw Alex's name on my phone. Not because my son calling me was unusual, though it had become more rare in recent months, but because of the tone in his voice when I answered. Too cheerful, too bright, like he was trying to sell me something I didn't want to buy. "Mum, hey, I was hoping we could get together this week. Just family. You, me, Katie. Maybe grab lunch?" I stood in my kitchen, still holding the coffee pot I'd been about to refill, and felt that old maternal instinct kick in. The one that could smell a lie from 3 rooms away. "What's this about, Alex? Can't a son want to see his mother?" Not when that son hasn't called in 2 months except to ask if I'd seen his college yearbooks in the attic. He laughed, but it sounded hollow. "You're right. I'm sorry. I've been buried with work. But that's actually what I wanted to talk about. Business stuff. Nothing heavy, I promise. Business stuff." My stomach tightened. It had been 8 months since Richard died. 8 months since my husband of 32 years had a heart attack while gardening and left me alone in a house that suddenly felt too big and too quiet. 8 months since I'd sat in a lawyer's office and learned that Richard had left me well taken care of, better than I'd even known. The house was paid off. There was life insurance, his pension, and my own money from the real estate company I'd built with my business partner, Jennifer. I wasn't rich, but I was comfortable, independent, free. Maybe that was what bothered Alex. "Where did you want to meet?" I asked. "Actually, I was thinking my office might be easier. More private. We can use the conference room. Is Thursday at 2 okay?" His office. Not a restaurant, not my house. Somewhere he controlled. "Thursday works," I said, even though every instinct told me to say no. "Great. See you then, Mum. Love you." He hung up before I could respond. I set down the coffee pot and stared out the window at the backyard where Richard had died. The garden was overgrown now. I couldn't bring myself to touch it. "Love you." When was the last time Alex had said that without needing something? Thursday came too fast. I dressed carefully that morning, not fancy but professional. A navy blazer over a cream blouse, dark slacks, low heels. I wanted to look put together, in control. The drive to Alex's office took 30 minutes through downtown traffic. His company, Holt Properties Group, occupied the 8th floor of a glass tower near the financial district. I'd only been there once before, shortly after he'd opened it 3 years ago. Back then, it had been 2 rooms and a receptionist. Now it sprawled across half the floor. The receptionist, a young woman with perfectly straight blonde hair and a smile that didn't reach her eyes, told me Mr. Holt was expecting me. She led me down a hallway lined with photos of properties Alex had developed. Strip malls, apartment complexes, a boutique hotel downtown. "He's really built something impressive," the receptionist said, gesturing at the photos. "He has," I agreed, though I wondered how much of it was built on Richard's name. My late husband had spent 30 years as a city planner. He'd known everyone. Every contractor, every developer, every zoning board member. Alex had inherited more than money when Richard died. The conference room was at the end of the hall. Large windows overlooked the city. A long glass table dominated the center, surrounded by leather chairs that probably cost more than my first car. Alex stood when I entered, arms spread wide. "Mom, thanks for coming." He hugged me and I let him, even though it felt performative. He was wearing one of those expensive suits that young businessmen wore when they wanted to look more successful than they were. His hair was styled with too much product, and his cologne was too strong. "Of course," I said, pulling back, "though I still don't know what this is about." "Just have a seat. Katie should be here any minute." As if on cue, the door opened and my daughter-in-law walked in. Katie was pretty in that polished, professional way that came from good genes and expensive skincare. She worked as a business journalist for the city paper, a job that had her constantly networking with exactly the kind of people Alex wanted to impress. "Rachel," she said, leaning in to kiss my cheek. Her perfume was subtle and expensive. "You look well." "So do you." We all sat down. Me on one side of the table, Alex and Katie on the other. Like a negotiation, like we were opposing sides. The door opened again, and two men in suits walked in. I didn't recognize either of them. "Mum, this is Gerald Pierce and Tom Lawson. They're attorneys who've been helping me with some estate planning." A cold shiver ran through me. "Estate planning," I repeated. "Just formalities," Alex said quickly. "With Dad gone, there are some things we need to sort out. Legal stuff. It won't take long." Gerald Pierce, the older of the two, with silver hair and sharp eyes, sat down across from me and opened a leather folder. "Mrs. Holt, we appreciate you taking the time to meet with us today. We know this has been a difficult year." "It has," I said carefully. "Your late husband left a very clear will, which I'm sure you're familiar with. However, there are some assets that require additional documentation to transfer properly." He slid a stack of papers across the table toward me. "What kind of assets?" I asked, not touching them. "The house primarily, and some investment accounts that were held jointly. We need your signature to ensure everything is properly allocated according to your husband's wishes." I looked at Alex. He was watching me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Anticipation. Nervousness. "I already signed papers about the house," I said. "Months ago, right after Richard died." "Those were preliminary documents," Tom Lawson said. He was younger than Pierce, probably close to Alex's age, with the kind of smooth confidence that came from never being told no. "These are the final transfers." I picked up the first page and started reading. Legal language, dense and confusing. But certain phrases jumped out at me. Transfer of deed, reallocation of assets, secondary beneficiary designation. "Wait," I said, looking up. "This says the house would transfer to Alex as primary owner, with me retaining a life estate." "That's correct," Pierce said. "It's a common estate planning tool. You would continue to live in the house for as long as you need, but ownership would transfer to your son, eliminating potential tax complications down the line." "And saving a lot in inheritance taxes," Katie added helpfully. I flipped through more pages. The investment accounts, the ones Richard and I had built together over 30 years, were being restructured to name Alex as the primary beneficiary. My hand started shaking, not from fear, from rage. "This isn't what Richard wanted," I said quietly. "Mum, Dad wanted to take care of the family." "He wanted to take care of me," I interrupted, my voice harder now. "That's why he left everything to me, not to you, to me." Alex's expression shifted. The false friendliness dropped away, revealing something colder underneath. "He left it to you because that's the standard arrangement, but he and I talked about this, Mom, before he died. He wanted me to take over managing the properties. He knew you weren't equipped to handle that kind of responsibility." "Wasn't equipped." I'd spent 20 years in city administration before opening my real estate company. I'd negotiated million-dollar contracts. I'd managed budgets and employees in crises, but I wasn't equipped. "Get out," I said. "Mum." "Get out," I repeated louder now. I stood up, leaving the papers on the table. "All of you, this meeting is over." "Mrs. Holt, if you'd just let us explain," Pierce started. I said, "Get out." Katie flinched. Alex's jaw tightened. "We're trying to help you," he said, "to protect you. By stealing my inheritance." "It's not stealing. It's planning. It's being smart." I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. Behind me, I heard Alex say something to the attorneys, his voice low and frustrated. I didn't wait to hear more. The receptionist looked startled as I stormed past her desk. I didn't care. I took the elevator down, my heart pounding, my hands still shaking. In the parking garage, I sat in my car for 10 minutes before I could trust myself to drive. My son had just tried to steal my inheritance, my home, the security Richard had worked his entire life to provide for me. And he'd done it with lawyers and fake concern, and his wife sitting next to him like this was normal. Like I was the unreasonable one for saying no. I thought about calling Jennifer, my business partner. She'd be furious on my behalf. But I didn't want fury right now. I wanted something else. I wanted revenge. As the story unfolds, take a moment to like, subscribe, and write in the comments. Would you forgive him or walk away? The anger didn't fade. If anything, it grew. That night, alone in my house with a glass of wine I didn't drink, I kept replaying the meeting in my head. Every word, every look. The way Alex had said, equipped, like I was some elderly invalid who couldn't manage her own checkbook. I was 53 years old. I ran a successful business. I had a master's degree in public administration. I'd raised 2 children, though apparently only my daughter Sarah had turned out decent. She lived in Seattle now, with her partner and their 2 kids, far enough away that she'd been spared the worst of Alex's transformation into whatever he'd become. When had it happened? When had my son turned into someone who would look me in the eye and try to con me? I knew the answer, even if I didn't want to admit it. It had started after he married Katie 3 years ago. She came from money. Old money, the kind that came with expectations and standards. Her parents had a house in the Hamptons and another in Scottsdale. Her father sat on corporate boards. Katie herself had gone to Columbia and worked for the Wall Street Journal before moving back home. Alex had always been ambitious, but Katie made him hungry, desperate to prove he belonged in her world. And I was in the way. My phone buzzed, a text from Alex. "Mom, I'm sorry about today. I didn't mean to upset you. Can we talk?" I deleted it without responding. Another buzz, this time Katie. "Rachel, I know today was overwhelming. Alex really does want what's best for you. Please call when you're ready." What's best for me? As if they knew. As if they had any idea what it was like to lose your husband, and then have your son try to take everything that husband left behind. I poured the wine down the sink and went to bed. The next morning, I called my own attorney. Diane Marshall had handled the initial probate for Richard's estate. She was in her 60s, sharp as a knife. With grey hair she wore in a no-nonsense bob and glasses that made her look like a particularly stern librarian. "Rachel," she said when her secretary put me through. "How are you holding up?" "Not great. I need to see you, soon." "What happened?" I told her about the meeting, the papers, the attorneys. By the time I finished, she was silent for a long moment. "Son of a gun," she finally said. "Is it legal, what he's trying to do?" "If you sign the papers, yes, but you'd be insane to sign them. Richard's will was crystal clear. Everything goes to you, with provisions for the kids after you're gone. What Alex is proposing would essentially disinherit you from your own assets." "That's what I thought. Do you still have the papers?" "I left them there." "Good. Don't sign anything. Don't even look at anything he sends you without running it by me first. And Rachel." "Yeah?" "Your son just showed you exactly who he is. Believe him." I hung up feeling marginally better. At least I wasn't crazy. At least the law was on my side. But the anger was still there, burning in my chest like acid. I drove to my office. The real estate company I co-owned with Jennifer operated out of a small building near the university. We specialized in residential properties, helping people buy and sell homes mostly. It wasn't flashy like Alex's operation, but it was honest work. We made good money. We had a solid reputation. Jennifer was at her desk when I arrived, typing rapidly on her keyboard. She was 2 years younger than me, with curly red hair she never quite managed to tame, and a wardrobe that consisted entirely of variations on business casual. We'd met 15 years ago, when I'd bought my first investment property, and she'd been my agent. We'd become friends, then partners. "You look pissed," she said without looking up from her screen. Alex tried to steal my inheritance yesterday. Her fingers stopped moving. She turned slowly in her chair to face me. Excuse me. I told her the whole story. By the end, her face was red and her hands were clenched into fists. That little jerk, she said. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. You need to protect yourself. Get everything in writing. Make sure all your accounts are secure. Diane's helping with that. Jennifer stood up and paced to the window. I never liked him. Even when he was a kid, there was something off. Too charming. Too good at getting what he wanted. He's my son. He's a con artist in a nice suit. She turned back to me. And you know what? This is probably just the beginning. If he's desperate enough to try this, he'll try something else. She was right. I knew she was right. So what do I do? Jennifer smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. You fight back. You show him you're not some weak target he can push around. How? I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out. Over the next week, I started digging into Alex's business. It wasn't hard. He loved to brag about his deals, and most of them were public record anyway. Holt Properties Group had grown fast, too fast. In 3 years, he'd gone from a 2-person operation to a company with 15 employees and projects all over the city. That kind of growth required capital, lots of it. I started pulling records, property transfers, loan documents, business filings. What I found made my stomach turn. Alex had leveraged Richard's name and connections to secure loans he probably shouldn't have qualified for. He'd bought properties at suspiciously low prices from the city, properties that happened to be approved by zoning boards where Richard's old colleagues sat. He'd partnered with developers who had histories of code violations and questionable business practices, nothing explicitly illegal, but everything ethically grey. And then I found the real estate holdings. Alex owned a condo downtown. The record showed he'd bought it 2 years ago, while he was married to Katie. But Katie's name wasn't on the deed. Why would a married man buy a condo in his name only? I sat back in my office chair, staring at the screen. There could be innocent explanations, investment property, future rental income, but I didn't think that was it. Find something, Jennifer asked, appearing at my office door with 2 cups of coffee. Maybe. I turned the screen toward her. Alex bought a condo 2 years ago. Katie's not on the deed. Jennifer's eyebrows went up. Interesting. You think he's cheating on her? I think men don't usually buy secret condos for innocent reasons. I felt a strange twist in my chest. Part of me, the mother part, didn't want to believe my son would cheat on his wife, but the rest of me, the part that had seen him try to steal my house, knew better. I need to find out, I said. How? I don't know yet. But even as I said it, an idea was forming. A terrible, perfect idea. Finding Dakota wasn't hard. In the age of social media, everyone left a trail. Dakota Reeves. 28, fashion marketer at Brennan & Associates, one of the big advertising firms downtown. And according to her Instagram, which was public because of course it was, she had excellent taste in expensive restaurants, luxury boutique hotels, and designer handbags. She also had history with Alex. I'd met her once, about 5 years ago, when Alex had brought her to a family Christmas dinner. She'd been 23 then, fresh out of college, with long dark hair and the kind of confidence that came from being pretty and knowing it. She'd lasted about 6 months in Alex's life before they'd broken up, shortly before he'd met Katie. But according to the metadata on her recent Instagram posts, Dakota had been at several locations I recognized. The boutique hotel downtown, where Alex had hosted a client event last month. The upscale Italian restaurant, where he'd posted about a business dinner 2 weeks ago. And most damningly, a photo of a view from a high-rise condo, posted 6 months ago with the caption, "New favorite hideaway." The view matched Alex's condo exactly. I sat in my home office, staring at my laptop screen, feeling sick. My son was having an affair. Probably had been for years, possibly even before his wedding, and the woman he was cheating with was happy to broadcast it to the world, as long as she was subtle enough about it. Jennifer had been right. Alex thought he was untouchable, thought he could do whatever he wanted because he was smart enough to get away with it. But he'd made one mistake. He'd underestimated his mother. I spent 3 days planning my approach. Dakota worked at Brennan & Associates, which was in the same building as a corporate client of mine, or rather a client I could easily arrange to have. One phone call to an old friend from my city administration days, and I had a lunch meeting scheduled at the building's ground floor cafe. I arrived early, dressed in what Jennifer called my power suit, charcoal grey, perfectly tailored, with heels that made me 3 inches taller. I'd had my hair done that morning, full makeup. I wanted to look like exactly what I was, a successful businesswoman who knew her worth. Dakota walked into the cafe at 12:15, right on schedule according to her Instagram stories. She was with 2 other women, all of them dressed in that calculated casual style that probably cost more than my mortgage payment. They were laughing about something, completely oblivious to the world around them. I waited until they'd ordered and sat down at a table near the windows. Then I stood up, coffee in hand, and walked past their table. "Dakota," I said, as if surprised. "Dakota Reeves?" She looked up, her smile automatic and professional. Then recognition hit, and her expression froze. "Mrs. Holt," she said carefully. "Hi." "I thought that was you. How have you been?" I could see the calculation in her eyes. Her friends were watching. This was a public place. She had to be polite. "I've been good," she said. "Just busy with work. You know how it is." "I do." I smiled warmly. "I don't want to interrupt your lunch, but would you have time for a quick coffee sometime? I'd love to catch up." The lie was smooth, easy. Dakota's eyes narrowed slightly. "Catch up?" she repeated. "About Alex," I said quietly, leaning in slightly so her friends couldn't hear. "I think we might have some things in common to discuss." Understanding flickered across her face. Then wariness. "I'm pretty busy this week," she said. "I'm sure you are. But this is important, and potentially profitable for you." The word profitable did what I knew it would. Dakota's expression shifted. "Tomorrow," she said. 4 o'clock. There's a coffee shop on 6th Street. Grindhouse. "Perfect. I'll see you then." I walked away before she could change her mind, feeling her eyes on my back. Jennifer thought I was insane. "You're going to what?" she said when I told her the plan. "I'm going to offer Dakota money to help me." "Help you do what exactly?" "Expose Alex, humiliate him, make him understand what it feels like to lose something important." We were in my office, door closed, speaking in low voices even though no one else was there. "Rachel, this is crazy. You're planning to pay your son's mistress to ruin his marriage." "Yes." "And you think that's going to solve anything?" "It's going to make him hurt the way he tried to hurt me." I leaned forward. He thought he could steal my inheritance, my home, everything Richard worked for. He thought I was weak, that I'd just sign the papers and let him do it. "So prove you're not weak. Fight him legally. Diane's already said you have a case." "Legal fights take time, and they're impersonal. I want Alex to know exactly who did this to him and why." Jennifer stared at me for a long moment. Then she sighed. "You're serious about this?" "Completely. What if Dakota says no? Or worse, what if she tells Alex?" "She won't tell Alex. She's been sleeping with him for years while he's married to someone else. The last thing she wants is exposure." I paused. "And she won't say no. Not for the right price." "How much are you thinking?" 20,000. Jennifer's eyes widened. "Jesus, Rachel." "I can afford it, and it's worth it." "Is it? Is revenge really worth $20,000 and potentially destroying your relationship with your son permanently?" I thought about Alex sitting across from me in that conference room, lawyers flanking him, looking at me like I was an obstacle to be removed. I thought about the papers he'd tried to make me sign. The words, "not equipped." "He already destroyed our relationship," I said. "I'm just making sure he pays for it." The next afternoon, I arrived at Grindhouse 15 minutes early. It was one of those trendy coffee shops with exposed brick and reclaimed wood, filled with people typing on MacBooks and having important conversations about creative projects. I ordered a cappuccino I didn't want and sat at a corner table where I could see the door. Dakota arrived exactly on time. She'd dressed down from yesterday, jeans and a sweater, but she still looked expensive. She ordered something complicated and sweet, then slid into the chair across from me. "So," she said, "what do you want?" No preamble, no fake pleasantries. I appreciated that. "I want to know about you and Alex." Her expression didn't change. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. You've been sleeping with him for years, probably since before he married Katie, and definitely after." Dakota's jaw tightened. "If you brought me here to judge me—" "I didn't. I brought you here to offer you a deal." That stopped her. She leaned back in her chair, studying me. "What kind of deal?" $20,000, cash, in exchange for your help." "Help with what?" "Destroying my son's marriage." The words hung in the air between us. Dakota's eyes widened slightly, then narrowed. "You're serious?" "Completely." "Why would you want to destroy your own son's marriage?" "Because he tried to steal my inheritance. He brought lawyers to intimidate me into signing away my home. And he did it thinking I was too weak and too stupid to fight back." I met her eyes. "I'm going to show him exactly how wrong he was." Dakota was quiet for a moment, processing. Then she laughed, a short, sharp sound. "I always knew he was a bastard, but I didn't know you had it in you, Mrs. Holt." "Rachel," I said, "and I have a lot in me that people don't expect." She stirred her coffee, thinking. "What exactly would I have to do for $20,000? "Alex is planning another meeting. He's going to try again to get me to sign those papers. When he does, I want you there." "To do what?" "To tell Katie the truth. About the affair, about the condo, about everything." Dakota's expression hardened. "You want me to blow up my own life for 20 grand? Your life is already blown up. You're sleeping with a married man who's never going to leave his wife. His wife who, by the way, comes from the exact kind of family Alex wants to impress. Do you really think he's going to choose you over her connections?" It was harsh but true. Dakota's face confirmed it. 20,000, she said slowly. "Cash. Cash. And I just show up at this meeting and tell Katie everything. That's all I need. What if Alex tries to deny it?" "He can try, but you have proof, don't you? Texts, photos, keys to the condo he never told his wife about." Dakota's smile was cold. "Yeah, I have proof." "Then we have a deal?" She extended her hand across the table. "We have a deal." I shook it, feeling a strange mix of triumph and disgust. This was what I'd become, a woman paying her son's mistress to ruin his life. But he'd started this. He'd shown me who he really was, and I was going to show him who I could be. The next 2 weeks were a study in patience. I had to wait for Alex to make his next move, to set up the follow-up meeting, where he'd try again to pressure me into signing away my inheritance. In the meantime, I prepared. Diane helped me ensure all my assets were locked down. We changed the deed structure on the house to make it impossible for Alex to claim any interest in it. We moved my accounts to a new bank where he had no connections. We even set up a trust that would control the distribution of my estate after I died, with specific language preventing any challenges. "You're building a fortress," Diane said approvingly. "Good." Jennifer helped me gather more information about Alex's business dealings. The more we dug, the worse it looked. He was over-leveraged on multiple properties, using one loan to pay off another in a shell game that would eventually collapse. He'd taken out a massive line of credit using the family name and Richard's old connections, money he was burning through faster than he could repay it. "He's desperate," Jennifer said one afternoon in my office. "That's why he came after your inheritance. He needs the money. How bad is it? Bad enough that if one deal falls through, the whole house of cards comes down. That explained the urgency, the lawyers, the pressure. Alex wasn't just greedy, he was drowning. Part of me, the mother part, felt a flicker of sympathy. But I pushed it down. He'd made his choices. He'd built his empire on questionable ethics and his father's reputation. And when it started crumbling, he'd decided the solution was to steal from his own mother. No, he'd earned whatever was coming. Dakota and I met once more before the meeting, at a park near the river where no one would recognize us. She brought her phone, showing me the evidence she'd collected, texts from Alex, photos of them together in the condo, and even a video, thankfully not explicit, of them in the condo's kitchen, with Alex in pajama pants, making coffee while Dakota filmed him. When was this? I asked. 3 weeks ago, while Katie was in New York visiting her parents. My stomach turned. Does she know? Katie. Does she suspect? If she does, she's pretending she doesn't. Women like Katie are good at that. They ignore what's inconvenient. You don't like her, Dakota laughed. Why would I? She's got everything I wanted. The ring, the name, the life. She paused. Though I guess I got the parts she doesn't know about. Do you love him? I asked suddenly. The question surprised both of us. Dakota looked away toward the river. I used to think I did, she said quietly. When we first started dating, before Katie, he was different then, or maybe I just saw what I wanted to see. She turned back to me. But no, I don't love him anymore. I'm not even sure I like him. This is just habit, I guess, and the perks. Then why are you doing this? Really? Because of what you said at the coffee shop, about how he's never going to choose me. You're right. I've wasted 3 years of my life being the side piece for a guy who sees me as a convenience. She smiled bitterly. $20,000 and the satisfaction of watching his world burn? Yeah. I'm in. The call from Alex came on a Wednesday morning. I was at the office reviewing contracts when my phone buzzed. Mom, hi. I know things have been tense between us, but I'd really like to try again. Can we meet? Just to talk. About what? About everything. About Dad's estate. About our family. About making this right. Making this right. As if I was the problem. Where? I asked. My office, same as before. But just us this time. No lawyers, no Katie. I want it to be just you and me, like it should have been from the start. A lie. Of course it was a lie. He wouldn't meet without his lawyers unless he had another angle planned. When? Friday afternoon, say 3 o'clock. I'll be there. Thanks, Mum. I really appreciate this. I hung up and immediately texted Dakota. Friday, 3 p.m., his office. She responded within seconds. Ready. Thursday night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about what I was about to do. Destroy my son's marriage. Humiliate him in front of his wife. Expose his lies. Was this who I'd become? The kind of person who plotted revenge? But then I thought about that conference room. The lawyers. The papers. Alex's face when he said I wasn't equipped to manage my own money. I thought about Richard, who'd worked so hard to give me security, who'd built a life where I'd be taken care of, comfortable, free. And I thought about Alex, who'd looked at everything his father had done and seen only an opportunity to take more. No, I wasn't destroying anything. Alex had already done that himself. I was just making sure everyone saw it. Friday morning, I dressed with the same care I had for the first meeting. Navy blazer, cream blouse, the outfit that made me look professional and in control. Jennifer wanted to come with me, but I said no. This had to be just me. Call me the second it's over, she said as I left the office. I will. The drive downtown felt longer than usual. Traffic was light for a Friday afternoon, which meant I had too much time to think, to second guess. but I didn't turn around. I parked in the same garage as before, took the same elevator up to the 8th floor. The receptionist gave me the same plastic smile. "Mr. Holt is expecting you. Conference room B." Different room this time, smaller, more intimate. I could hear voices as I approached. Alex, definitely. And was that Katie? He'd said it would be just us, but of course he'd lied. I paused at the door, listening. "She's going to sign this time," Alex was saying. "I know how to handle her." "What if she doesn't?" Katie's voice uncertain. "She will. She's scared. She doesn't understand how any of this works. She'll sign if we're patient." Handle me, like I was a problem. A child. I straightened my shoulders, checked my phone one more time to make sure Dakota was on her way, and opened the door. The conference room was smaller than the one from our first meeting, and less formal. A round table instead of the long glass one. 4 chairs instead of 10. Morning light poured through windows that overlooked the downtown skyline. Alex stood when I entered, his smile warm and practiced. "Mum, thanks for coming." Katie sat next to him, looking polished and professional in a cream-colored dress. She offered a tentative smile. "Hi, Rachel." "Hello," I said, sitting down across from them. No lawyers this time, just the 3 of us. At least that's what they thought. "I want to apologize," Alex started, leaning forward with his elbows on the table. "The way we handled things last time was all wrong. Coming at you with lawyers, with all that pressure, that wasn't fair." "No," I agreed. "It wasn't. I've been thinking a lot about what Dad would have wanted, and I realize now that he would have wanted us to work together, as a family." The mention of Richard was calculated. He knew how to push that button. "What does working together mean to you?" I asked. "It means being honest with each other, being transparent." He glanced at Katie, who nodded encouragingly. "Mum, the truth is, I'm in trouble financially. Not in a crisis way, but things are tight. I overextended on some properties and the market shifted. I have loans coming due, and if I can't refinance them..." He trailed off, looking down. "I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want you to worry, but I think you deserve to know the truth." It was a good performance. The vulnerable son, admitting his mistakes, asking for help. If I hadn't spent the last 2 weeks investigating his business, I might have even believed him. "How much do you need?" I asked. His eyes lit up. "If I could access even a portion of the house equity, maybe 200,000, it would give me enough runway to restructure and..." "No." The word hung in the air. Alex's expression faltered. "Mom." I said no. "The house is mine. The equity is mine. Your father left it to me, not to bail you out of bad business decisions." "They weren't bad decisions," he said, frustration creeping into his voice. "The market changed. That's not my fault. You borrowed more than you could afford to pay back. You used your father's name to get loans you weren't qualified for. You built a company on connections instead of competence." I leaned back in my chair. "And when it started falling apart, you decided the solution was to trick your own mother into signing away her security." "That's not fair," Katie interjected. "He was trying to help you." "Help me?" I laughed, a short, bitter sound. "By making me homeless if I wanted to sell? By taking control of my investments? That's not help, Katie. That's theft dressed up in legal language." Alex's jaw clenched. "I knew you wouldn't understand. You've never understood business, never understood what it takes to build something real." "I built a successful company from nothing," I said sharply. "I spent 20 years in city administration, managing budgets bigger than your entire operation. I understand business just fine, Alex. What I don't understand is how my son turned into someone who would look me in the eye and lie." "I'm not lying. You said this meeting would be just us. No lawyers, no Katie. But she's here, isn't she?" Katie had the grace to look uncomfortable. Alex's face reddened. "Because she's my wife. She deserves to be part of family discussions." "Does she?" I asked quietly. "Does she know everything about you, Alex? Everything about your life?" Something shifted in his expression, wariness, fear. What's that supposed to mean? It means I've been doing some research into your business, your properties. I paused. Your personal life. Mum, I don't know what you think you found. The condo downtown, the one you bought 2 years ago, the one Katie's name isn't on. The colour drained from Katie's face. She turned to look at her husband. What condo? She asked. It's an investment property, Alex said quickly, for rental income. I told you about it. No, Katie said slowly. You didn't. I must have. It was a good deal. I jumped on it. It's just... Who lives there? I asked. No one. It's vacant. I'm renovating it before putting it on the rental market. The lies came so easily to him, so smoothly. I checked my phone. Dakota had texted 2 minutes ago. Downstairs. Ready? I texted back. Come up. Mum, what are you doing? Alex asked, watching me. Making sure Katie knows exactly who she married. What the hell is that supposed to mean? The door opened. Dakota walked in. She looked beautiful. She'd dressed carefully for this, I could tell. A black dress that was professional but flattering. Her dark hair was down, and she'd done her makeup perfectly. She looked like exactly what she was. A woman who knew her power. Katie gasped. Alex went completely still. Hello, Alex, Dakota said, her voice steady. Hi, Katie. I don't think we've officially met. I'm Dakota Reeves. What is she doing here? Alex demanded, looking at me. What the hell is this? This is the truth, I said calmly. Something you seem to have trouble with. Katie was staring at Dakota, her face pale. I know who you are. You're his ex-girlfriend, from before we got married. Ex-girlfriend, Dakota repeated, smiling coldly. Is that what he told you? Get out, Alex said, standing up. This is a private meeting. You're not welcome here. Sit down, Alex, I said, or I'll make sure every client you have knows exactly how you do business. It was a bluff, mostly, but it worked. He sat, his hands clenched into fists. Dakota pulled out the 4th chair and sat down at the table, setting her phone in front of her. Katie, she said, addressing my daughter-in-law directly, how much do you know about the condo on 7th Avenue? I don't. He said it's an investment property. It's where we've been meeting for the last 3 years, where I've been sleeping with your husband since 6 months before your wedding. The words were brutal, deliberate. Katie made a sound like she'd been punched. She's lying, Alex said. Mum, you brought her here to lie. I have proof, Dakota said calmly. She unlocked her phone and slid it across the table to Katie. Photos, texts, videos, 3 years' worth. Katie picked up the phone with shaking hands. Her face went from pale to grey as she scrolled through whatever Dakota had shown her. You can't. She looked at Alex, her eyes filling with tears. Tell me she's lying. Baby, she's crazy. She's obsessed with me. She's been stalking. This is you, Katie said, her voice breaking. She held up the phone, showing him the screen. This is you in that condo. This is dated 3 weeks ago, when I was in New York. Katie, 3 weeks ago. She was crying now, mascara running down her face. You called me every night. You said you missed me. You said you were working late. I can explain. Explain what? That you've been cheating on me for 3 years. That you've been lying to my face every single day of our marriage. She threw the phone at him. It hit his chest and clattered onto the table. How could you? She whispered. Alex looked at me, and the expression on his face was pure hatred. You did this? You planned this? Yes, I said simply. I did. Why? To punish me for trying to help you? Help me, I laughed. You tried to steal from me. You tried to take everything your father worked for and leave me with nothing. And you thought I'd just let you do it because I'm your mother. Because mothers are supposed to be weak and forgiving and easy to manipulate. I'm your son. And you're a liar, a cheat, a con artist who uses people and throws them away when they're not useful anymore. I stood up, feeling calmer than I had in weeks. You wanted my inheritance, Alex. You wanted my house, My security? Well, congratulations. You've lost something much more valuable instead. Katie was sobbing now, her hands covering her face. Dakota sat quietly, watching everything with a detached expression. Alex looked between all of us, his face red, his fists clenched. "This isn't over," he said. "You think you've won, but this isn't over." "Yes," I said. "It is." I picked up my purse and walked toward the door. Behind me, I could hear Katie's sobs, Alex's heavy breathing, Dakota's chair scraping as she stood to leave. "Mum," Alex called after me. "Mum!" I didn't turn around. I walked past the receptionist, took the elevator down to the parking garage, got in my car, and then, finally, I let myself cry. Not from guilt, not from regret, from relief. The phone call started that evening. First Alex screaming so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear, calling me names I'd never heard him use before, threatening lawsuits, threatening to cut me out of his life completely, as if that weren't exactly what I wanted. I hung up on him and blocked his number, then Katie's mother, her voice icy and controlled. "I don't know what you think you've accomplished, but you've destroyed your son's marriage. I hope you're proud of yourself." "I didn't destroy his marriage," I said calmly. "He did. I just made sure his wife knew the truth." "You're a vindictive, bitter woman. No wonder your son wanted nothing to do with you." I hung up on her too. Jennifer called around 8. "Please tell me you're not watching the news." "Why would I be watching the news?" "Because Katie's father is Richard Brennan, as in Brennan Industries, one of the biggest real estate developers in the state. And apparently Katie went straight from your son's office to her father and told him everything." My stomach dropped. And Brennan has already pulled out of 2 joint ventures with Alex's company. He's also calling in a loan he'd personally guaranteed. "Rachel, Alex's business is about to implode." I sat down heavily on my couch. I'd wanted to hurt him, to make him understand what he'd done to me, but I hadn't thought about the full consequences. "How bad is it?" "Bad. If Brennan pulls his support, Alex won't be able to refinance any of his properties. He'll have to declare bankruptcy, maybe lose everything." Everything. I thought about what that meant. The company he'd built, the reputation, the life he'd created for himself. Gone. Because of me. "Are you okay?" Jennifer asked quietly. "I don't know," I said honestly. "Do you regret it?" Did I? I thought about Alex in that conference room, lawyers flanking him, trying to steal my home. I thought about the way he'd looked at me, like I was nothing, like I was just an obstacle to be removed. "No," I said finally. "I don't regret it." "Good, because whatever happens next, you were justified. He brought this on himself." After we hung up, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat in Richard's study. I hadn't changed anything in here since he was gone. His books were still on the shelves. His reading glasses were still on the desk. Sometimes I came in here just to feel close to him. "I hope I did the right thing," I said to the empty room. "I hope you would understand." Richard had loved Alex, had believed in him, even when I'd had doubts. But Richard had also had a strong sense of justice. He'd spent his career fighting corruption, fighting people who used their positions for personal gain. Would he have approved of what I'd done? I didn't know, but I knew he would have understood why I'd done it. The weekend was quiet. I didn't leave my house. I ignored my phone except for texts from Jennifer and my daughter Sarah, who'd called from Seattle in a panic after hearing from Alex's wife. "Mum, what happened? Katie's sister just called me and said you ruined Alex's life." I gave her the abbreviated version, the inheritance documents, the affair, Dakota. Sarah was quiet for a long time after I finished. "Wow," she finally said. Wow. "Are you angry with me?" "Am I? No, Mom, I'm not angry. I'm impressed. And a little terrified, honestly. I didn't know you had it in you." "Neither did I." "Alex has always been a dick," she said bluntly. "Even when we were kids. The golden boy who could do no wrong. And after he married Katie, he got worse, more entitled, more arrogant. She paused. I'm sorry he tried to steal from you, and I'm sorry you had to go nuclear to stop him. Do you think I went too far? I think Alex went too far. You just made sure he paid for it. After we hung up, I felt marginally better. At least one of my children didn't hate me. Monday morning, Diane called. I'm assuming you've heard about the Brennan situation, she said without preamble. I have. Alex's attorneys are threatening to sue you for tortious interference. They're claiming you deliberately sabotaged his business relationships. A chill ran through me. Can they do that? They can try, but they won't win. You didn't interfere with any business relationships. You exposed your son's affair to his wife. That's not illegal. She paused, although it was spectacularly dramatic. Is there anything I need to do? Just don't talk to anyone from Alex's legal team without me present. Don't talk to reporters if any of them contact you. And don't feel guilty. You were protecting yourself from someone trying to defraud you. He's my son. He's also an adult who made his own choices, bad choices, and now he's dealing with the consequences. After I hung up, I went into the office. I needed to work, needed to do something normal and productive, and not think about Alex or Katie or any of it. But Jennifer took one look at my face and made me sit down. You look like you haven't slept, she said. I haven't, not really. Regrets? I don't know. Maybe. I keep thinking about when he was little, before he changed. He used to be such a sweet kid, always helping, always trying to make people happy. People change. When did he change? When did my son turn into someone I don't even recognize? Jennifer sat down across from me. You want my honest opinion? I think he's always been like this. He just got better at hiding it. And when your husband passed, he saw an opportunity. He thought you'd be vulnerable, easy to manipulate. He was right. I was vulnerable. But you weren't easy to manipulate. That's what he didn't count on. She leaned forward. Rachel, you did what you had to do. You protected yourself. That's not wrong. Even if it destroyed his life. He was trying to destroy yours. She was right. I knew she was right. But it still hurt. Tuesday afternoon, I got a visitor. I was home, trying to work through some contracts at my kitchen table, when the doorbell rang. I almost didn't answer it, but something made me get up and check the peephole. Dakota. I opened the door slowly. She looked different than she had at the office, less polished, more tired. She was wearing jeans and a hoodie, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Hi, she said. Can I come in? I stepped aside and let her enter. She looked around the house curiously, taking in the family photos on the walls, the furniture Richard and I had picked out together. Nice place, she said. Thank you. Can I get you something to drink? No, I'm not staying long. She trailed off, looking uncomfortable. I wanted to give you this. She held out an envelope. I took it, confused. What is it? The money, the 20,000. I can't keep it. I stared at her. Why not? Because what happened on Friday, that wasn't what I signed up for. She ran a hand through her hair. I thought it would feel good, you know. Getting revenge on Alex for using me, watching his perfect life fall apart. But Katie... She shook her head. The way she looked at him, the way she cried, I keep seeing her face. She deserved to know the truth. I know, but it doesn't make me feel any less terrible for being the one to tell her. Dakota met my eyes. Alex is a jerk. He deserves everything that's happening to him. But Katie didn't deserve that, and I don't deserve to benefit from her pain. I set the envelope down on the hall table. Dakota, we had a deal. I'm breaking it. Keep your money. I don't want it. She turned to leave, but I caught her arm. Wait, did Alex send you here? What? No, he's not talking to me. He blocked my number. And honestly, I'm fine with that. This whole thing made me realize how stupid I've been. Wasting years on a guy who was never going to choose me. Who saw me as convenient and disposable. She laughed bitterly. Maybe this was the wake-up call I needed. What are you going to do now? Move on. Find someone who actually values me. Stop settling for scraps. She pulled her arm free gently. But I can't take your money. It wouldn't be right. I watched her walk to her car and drive away, leaving the envelope on my hall table. Inside was $20,000 in cash, exactly as I'd given her. I picked it up and carried it to Richard's study, putting it in the safe. Then I sat down at his desk and cried. The scandal broke in the business section of the newspaper on Wednesday. Jennifer called me at 6 a.m, her voice tight. Have you seen today's paper? I just woke up. Check your email. I'm sending you the link. I fumbled for my laptop, my heart pounding. The article loaded slowly, and then I saw the headline. Holt Properties faces financial crisis as major partner pulls support. I read through it, my stomach sinking with each paragraph. Katie's father hadn't just pulled out of their joint ventures, he'd gone public with it. The article detailed Alex's over-leveraged properties, his questionable business practices, the loans he couldn't repay. And buried in the middle was a single line. Sources close to the Brennan family cite personal reasons for the sudden split. Personal reasons. Everyone would know what that meant. This is bad, I said. It's catastrophic. Alex's company is finished. He'll be lucky if he doesn't end up in bankruptcy court. Did I do this? I asked quietly. Is this my fault? No, Jennifer said firmly. This is Alex's fault. He built a house of cards and used his father-in-law's money to keep it standing. The second that support disappeared, everything collapsed. That's on him, not you. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd started the dominoes falling. By noon, 3 of Alex's employees had called me. I didn't know how they'd gotten my number, probably from old family events, but they all had the same story. Alex had held an emergency meeting that morning and told everyone the company was shutting down, effective immediately. No severance, no warning. We just want to know if you can help, one of them said, a young woman named Maria who'd been Alex's office manager. We heard you own a real estate company. Do you have any openings? I gave her Jennifer's contact information and told her we'd see what we could do. But the call left me shaken. Real people were losing their jobs because of what I'd done. I tried to tell myself it wasn't my fault, that Alex had made his own choices. But the guilt was overwhelming. That afternoon, Katie showed up at my door. She looked terrible. No makeup, hair pulled back, eyes red and swollen from crying. She was wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt, and she looked about 10 years younger than she actually was. Can we talk? She asked. I let her in and made tea neither of us drank. We sat in my living room, the silence heavy between us. I wanted you to know, Katie finally said, her voice hoarse, that I'm filing for divorce. I'm sorry, I said quietly. Are you? She looked at me, and there was no anger in her eyes, just exhaustion. Because it seems like this is exactly what you wanted. I wanted Alex to understand what he'd done to me. I wanted him to know he couldn't manipulate me. I didn't want, I gestured vaguely, this. My father is destroying his business. My mother won't speak to him. I'm moving back in with my parents while I figure out what to do next. She laughed, a broken sound. 3 years of marriage, gone, just like that. Did you love him? I asked. The question seemed to surprise her. She thought about it for a long moment. I loved the idea of him, she said finally. The successful businessman, the good son, the man who seemed to have everything figured out. She looked down at her hands. I didn't love who he actually was, maybe because I never really knew who that was. I'm sorry, I said again. I keep trying to be angry with you, for orchestrating that whole thing, for bringing Dakota there, for humiliating me in front of my husband's mistress. She met my eyes. But the truth is, if you hadn't done it, I would have spent the rest of my life married to a man who was cheating on me, who saw me as useful for my family connections and nothing more. That doesn't make what I did right. No, she agreed, But it doesn't make it wrong either. She stood up. I should go. I just wanted to tell you in person. About the divorce. I thought you deserved to know. I walked her to the door. Before she left, she turned back. Did he really try to steal your inheritance? She asked. Yes. I didn't know. He told me it was just estate planning, that you didn't understand the paperwork. That's what he wanted you to think. She nodded slowly. He's good at that. Making people think what he wants them to think. She paused. For what it's worth, I think you were right to fight back. I just wish it hadn't taken me down with him. After she left, I stood in the doorway for a long time, watching the street. Everything I'd done had seemed so clear before, so justified. Alex had tried to steal from me, so I'd exposed his lies. Simple cause and effect. But nothing was simple. Katie was collateral damage. So were Alex's employees. So were probably a dozen other people caught in the blast radius of my revenge. I closed the door and went back to Richard's study. I don't know if I did the right thing, I told the empty room. I don't know if there was a right thing to do. The silence didn't answer. That night, Sarah called again. Alex tried to call me, she said, about 50 times. I finally answered. What did he say? That you ruined his life, that you're a spiteful woman who can't stand to see him succeed, that everything that's happened is your fault. My chest tightened. Do you believe him? Hell no. I told him he brought this on himself, that if he hadn't tried to steal from you, none of this would have happened, that if he hadn't been cheating on his wife, there wouldn't have been anything to expose. How did he react? He hung up on me. She paused. Mum, he's not going to let this go. He's the type to hold grudges, to keep fighting even when he's lost. I know. So what are you going to do? I don't know, I admitted. Protect myself, I guess. Make sure he can't hurt me. And if he tries, then I'll deal with it. After we hung up, I checked all the doors and windows in the house, making sure everything was locked. It was probably paranoia, but I couldn't shake the feeling that Alex wasn't done yet, that somehow this wasn't over. I was right. Friday morning, I got a call from Diane. We have a problem, she said. Alex filed a lawsuit this morning. He's suing you for the full value of his company's losses. $10 million. I sat down hard in my office chair. 10 million? It's a worthless suit. It won't stand in court. But it's going to be costly to fight, and it's going to be public. He's trying to ruin your reputation. Can he do that? Technically, anyone can sue anyone for anything. Whether he can win is a different question. And the answer to that is no, he can't. But he can make your life hell for the next year while we fight it. I closed my eyes. What do I need to do? Nothing yet. I'll file a motion to dismiss. In the meantime, don't talk to him. Don't talk to his lawyers. Don't talk to anyone about this without me present. After I hung up, I told Jennifer what was happening. Son of a gun, she said. He's getting back at me. Of course he is. I destroyed his business and his marriage. What did I expect? You expected him to take responsibility for his own actions, instead of blaming you for exposing them. She shook her head. This is going to get ugly, isn't it? It already is ugly. The lawsuit made the papers on Monday. Not front page, but buried in the business section. Local businessman sues mother over company collapse. My phone started ringing immediately. Reporters, old friends asking what was going on, even strangers who'd somehow gotten my number. I ignored all of it, but I couldn't ignore the looks I got when I went to the grocery store that afternoon. The whispers, the way people turned away when they saw me. In a city this size, business scandals were gossip, and I was at the center of this one. I bought my groceries quickly and left, feeling like everyone was watching me, judging me. Maybe they were right to judge. Maybe I'd gone too far. Maybe revenge wasn't worth this. But when I got home and saw another email from Alex's lawyers, threatening, demanding, accusing, the doubt disappeared. He'd started this. He'd tried to steal from me. He'd lied to his wife, cheated on her, built a business on his father's name and connections. I'd just made sure everyone knew the truth. Tuesday morning, I got an unexpected visitor at my office, Richard Brennan, Katie's father. He was in his late 50s, with the kind of presence that came from decades of power and money. Grey hair perfectly styled, expensive suit, the air of a man who was used to getting exactly what he wanted. Jennifer tried to intercept him, but he waved her off. "Mrs. Holt," he said, standing in my office doorway. "I'd like a word." I gestured to the chair across from my desk. He sat, looking around my small office, with an expression that might have been amusement or disdain. Hard to tell. "I assume you know who I am," he said. "You're Katie's father." "I'm also the man who just cost your son his entire business." He leaned back in the chair, completely relaxed. "I wanted to meet the woman who had the balls to expose him." I blinked. "Excuse me?" "Your son is a con artist. I've known that for years. But Katie loved him, or thought she did, so I kept my mouth shut and my money flowing." He smiled, but it wasn't friendly. "The second my daughter called me crying, told me about the affair, I pulled every investment, called in every loan, made sure every developer in this city knew that working with Alex Holt was career suicide." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I want you to know that what happened to your son's business wasn't your fault. It was inevitable. He was going to crash and burn eventually. You just accelerated the timeline. He's suing me for $10 million. I know, his lawyers are idiots. The suit will be dismissed within 3 months. Brennan stood up. "Mrs. Holt, I came here to thank you. You did my daughter a favor by exposing the truth. You probably saved her years of misery." "I didn't do it for Katie," I said quietly. "I did it for myself, for revenge." "Best revenge I've ever seen." He headed for the door, then paused. "Your son called me yesterday, begging for money, saying if I'd just give him another chance, he could rebuild. Do you know what I told him?" "What?" "That he should have treated his mother with more respect." He tipped his head. "Good luck with the lawsuit. You won't need it, but good luck anyway." After he left, I sat at my desk for a long time, processing. Richard Brennan had thanked me. The man whose daughter I'd humiliated, whose family I'd dragged into a scandal, had thanked me. Maybe I hadn't destroyed everything after all. Maybe some things had needed to be destroyed. That afternoon, Diane called with good news. The judge threw out the lawsuit, didn't even wait for our motion, just looked at the filing and dismissed it with prejudice. What does that mean? It means Alex can't refile. It's over. He loses. I felt a weight lift off my chest. It's really over. The lawsuit is, but Rachel, I need to warn you. Alex is desperate. Desperate people do stupid things. You need to be careful. Careful how? Just be aware. Don't put yourself in situations where you're alone with him. Keep your doors locked. If he contacts you, don't respond. You think he'd hurt me? I think he blames you for everything that's happened to him. And people like that are unpredictable. After we hung up, I sat in my office and thought about my son. Would he hurt me? A month ago, I would have said no. Alex was manipulative and selfish, but he wasn't violent. But a month ago, I hadn't thought he'd try to steal my inheritance either. I didn't know who Alex was anymore. Maybe I never had.